Happy Monday, everybody! I hope your week's been great. I hope 2015 has been agreeing with you so far. But today, we're going to talk about something that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Alice in Wonderland, or probably, it's actually Alice's Adventures in Wonderland instead of Alice in Wonderland, but it's actually just the book is actually titled Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And usually you can buy the two in one. It's two separate books, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was published in 1865. Through the Looking Glass was published in 1871. Lewis Carroll is a genius, in my opinion. There have been many theories about this man. Either it was just a man writing a story for his next door neighbor's little daughter, Lewis Liddell, or he was a pedophile writing a little story for the next door neighbor's little girl, or he was a man on LSD writing a story for an imaginary little girl, or he could probably also have been on LSD and a pedophile writing a story for a little girl. Anyways, no matter what you like to think, I personally find it amazing. I love it. I own many different versions. I own Disney's 1960s version of Alice in Wonderland. That's probably why most of us call it Alice in Wonderland, was because of that version by animated by Disney. Sci-Fi just a few years ago did a version just called Alice, and it is pretty superb. It's like almost a science fiction-y take to the fantasy of Alice's world, and it's pretty superb. There's been a Whoopi Goldberg version back, I think, in the late 90s, and that's pretty great too. There was even a TV show in the 80s about Alice in Wonderland. There are so many different formats. You can read it, you can listen to it, you can watch it. It's amazing. And if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, the English literature major in myself becomes very, very sad. Very sad. I almost wish I could have written a paper on Alice in Wonderland. However, I was never given the opportunity to. I did have a chance when I was a freshman in high school to do a PowerPoint presentation in my pre-AP English class about Alice in Wonderland. My mother said I was not allowed to read Dracula yet, and so I picked Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is about a girl who falls down a rabbit hole and discovers this new world. There is the Queen of Hearts, who chops off people's heads if they do something that make her mad. There is the Mad Hatter and the March Hare and the Dormouse, who have their mad tea party all day long, every day and all day. There is the White Rabbit, who she follows down the rabbit hole and who is always so very, very late for a very important date. There are fantastic poems throughout the entirety of the book. There is the Jabberwock. That's one of my favorites. Clu Calais, how frabjous was his joy. I don't know if that's exact, but I mangle the poem so I can have that quote to use in every day. There is the poem of The Walrus and the Oysters, which is mildly disturbing if you are a young person reading this book. My best friend read this with her two young daughters. One is 10 and one is 8, and the 10-year-old was disturbed by a certain bit of the book involving a dog. So FYI, if you do have children and you are planning on reading this book with your children, just have a heads up, there are mildly upsetting bits of the book. I would recommend you reading through it first if you have not yet, and kind of being aware. Being aware as a parent of what is in this not quite children's book. I never recommend abridged versions of novels. I never recommend them ever. I think a novel is I think it's disrespectful to the book and to the author and to the people who do appreciate that story if you do read it in abridged versions. Yes, you might be reading those stories to help involve your kids and get your kids about reading stories, but a story like Alice in Wonderland, it needs to be read in its entirety. Majority of the time, Tweedledee and Tweedledum are even cut out in abridged versions, and I think they're important. There are a lot of symbols in this book, a lot of really important symbols, and if you want to even go even further to it, a bunch of historical symbols. Lewis Carroll was writing books, which is a pseudonym if you didn't know. Okay, Lewis Carroll's not his real name. Like Mark Twain was not Mark Twain's real name, if you didn't know. Plowing on though, Lewis Carroll had a bunch of commentary to do about the political atmosphere of England at the time. I won't go into a bunch of details because it's involved and convoluted. My mother and father, 2 Christmases ago, bought me an annotated version of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And it's like you have a column of the story on one side, and then you have a column of historical references and personal meanings from his own life, and it's wonderful. He's a very, very interesting man. I don't care if you believe he was just a druggie and he did what he wanted when he wanted, and I personally believe that it's a really fun children's story. It's in the grander scheme of things, most of these children's stories where the child goes to another world, it's because they want to go to a different world, and they go to this different world and learn and appreciate that the world that they have and what they have at that present time is pretty fantastic. Because most of the time when they go get swept up in a tornado or go down a rabbit's hole, the other side isn't that great. If you kind of want to read like a modern spin close to what Alice is kind of talking about, I will always recommend Neil Gaiman's Coraline. That's another personal favorite of myself. It is quite spooky and to most children quite scary, but it's still really good, and it goes on that theme of appreciating what you have and not everything is better on the other side of the fence. I always go gaga for Alice in Wonderland. My best friend has bought me a tea set with Alice in Wonderland scenes and characters painted on them. I just went to the mall today and I just bought 2 compact mirror things. Okay, dudes, if you don't know what they are, they're a little thing with a mirror on both sides so a girl can check out her face. Okay? I don't carry one, but I bought 2 today. One had Alice and the Flamingo, and then one had the White Rabbit. I just couldn't help myself. I have a painting of the Mad Hatter up on my wall, and I also have an Alice in Wonderland thing. It's another picture from an artist I bought at an anime convention that I went to several years ago, and it's beautiful. I love it. When I was in special topics for my art degree, I made a hat. And it's really tall, made out of clay, and I love it. It's awesome. I made a caterpillar and the Red Queen, or the Queen of Hearts crown, and a Cheshire grin, and a thing that says "We're all mad here," and it's just wonderful. I love it. It's something I really geek out on. It's something I really enjoy, and a lot of people don't understand it because they say it's really weird, and I go, I don't care. It's so great. It's still great. If there's a book that you guys enjoy, definitely share, especially if it's a classic. I always like going back and refreshing myself on classics that I might have missed, or it might have been a long time since I've read them. I'm trying to work through a bunch of books right now. I'm actually trying to read, I just started it today, Memoirs of a Geisha, and I'm really excited, and I've never really read an adult book like that. I'm normally in like the young adult stuff or the children's classics classical literature and stuff like that. But if you guys definitely have a book to recommend, shoot it my way. I'm always willing and ready to try something new. I like to think I'm well read, but there are a lot of areas in my life that I really fall short. So if you guys can think of something that pops up, or even a version of Alice in Wonderland that I might not have even mentioned, give it to me, and I will try to find it either like on Netflix or rent it someplace. I don't care. It's Alice in Wonderland. I love it. Guys, have a fantastic week. It's freezing cold out where I am. I'm hoping we might get a little bit of snow in our forecast, so we'll see. But I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Bye, guys.